Next, I want to go ahead and take a look at how you can enhance the low-end harmonics of audio recordings. This could be really great for resynthesizing bass guitars that weren't recorded with enough low end in them, or it can be really nice for also adding a lot of thickness and fullness to kick drums, and it could even be a way of taking a sample and creating something totally new out of it. So there's a lot of cool things you can do with this, and we'll be using the Unfilter Audio Basement plugin to enhance the low end of my different signals. So the first one that we're going to be taking a look at is going to be this guitar, which just sounds like this. Which sounds nice, but it kind of lacks a lot of low end, has a nice resonant characteristic to it, but it needs that kind of thick low end. And with the plugin, it's going to sound like this. And then our kick drum, kind of in a loop, it sounds like this. So it definitely lacks a lot of low end punch, but with our resynthesized low end using this plugin, it's going to sound like this. So using the same plugin, we can enhance the low end on two radically different types of signals, and it sounds ultra clear and harmonic, so that we're not generating any notes that aren't kind of in key with the original sound. It's a really great way of adding that fullness and saturation, but without adding any additional weird harmonics that aren't the right pitch, which is one of the problems you could run into with a lot of low-end enhancement plugins. Usually you have to choose like a specific frequency or pitch to work with. In this case, we can kind of enhance the overall quality of the whole signal, and that gives us a much more natural sounding low-end synthesis. So let's go ahead and load in the Basement plugin onto my guitar, and we can go ahead and get started with our processing. So the first thing that we need to do is go ahead and choose a mode. Each of these have their own different types of tones, and depending on the type of source material you're working with, one will probably sound better than one of the others. So in this case, I'm going to be using the saturate mode, but I just want to run you through these really quick. First one's saturate. So it's giving me kind of a thicker, more saturated low-end resonance. We have a resonant mode, an octave, a synthesizer. Let me just go ahead and crank this all the way up to you so you can kind of hear exactly what this is doing. So depending on the type of signal you're working with, you can go ahead and choose these accordingly. For us, I'm going to use the saturate because that's going to give me the most natural low-end harmonic for my bass guitar, but depending on what you're doing, you could always swap those out. So the first thing that we need to do is go ahead and choose the cutoff and strength control. So this controls the intensity of the low end enhancement, and the cutoff is going to control kind of where that frequency cutoff is happening. So if I put this all the way down, it's a very low end frequency focused. You could even see that on this visualizer here as well. Getting this large boost happening there. And as I increase this, it's slowly letting more frequencies from the saturation run in parallel to my main signal, and it's letting more of those kind of upper high end harmonics through. So depending on what you're going for, you could always set that a little bit higher. But for us, because I'm really just looking to enhance the overall low end quality of this, I'm going to set this a little bit lower. About 91 sounds nice, maybe a little lower. Maybe exactly at 90, so 90.2 sounds really nice. And obviously this is a little bit too much of this, we're adding quite a bit, but I'm overdoing this so you can hear what the effect is doing. So let's go ahead and reduce that quite a bit. So that way we get much more natural of a bass enhancement. And depending on how much of that you want, you can adjust the strength control. The next control is going to be the shelf, which basically creates a low pass shelf at this cutoff point that we have set here. So you can either boost that shelf point at the cutoff to boost the low end, or I can cut it to kind of attenuate back that low end harmonic. So in this case, I want to reduce it just a little bit, maybe like -2. It just kind of helps it feel a little bit more natural and less kind of overdone. We're looking for a balanced low end saturation here. So reducing that a little bit just sounds nice. So maybe like 1.5 is quite nice. I'm gonna go ahead and also increase the clarity control, which is gonna put another low pass filter towards the bottom end of the frequencies. Just kind of helps clean everything up. Adds a lot more punch to my signal. And actually from there, I can go ahead and increase my strength just a little bit. Maybe reduce the clarity. You can also see that cut happening at that point right there. And then the next control we have over here is under the options. It's going to be anti-rumble, which is going to chop out some of the really low sub bass. And then we also want to have this be soft clipped as well because it'll sound nice and saturated on this low end material. That's without it. Very resonant, not super full sounding, but with it, we retain the original character of my bass guitar, but we've really saturated and enhanced that overall tone. So that's how we can go about resynthesizing the low end of this bass guitar. So what about on a kick drum? This can also be used to really enhance the overall tone of a kick, especially one that doesn't have a lot of low end to it, or if you're trying to create your own samples from other sampled recordings, this can actually be a really great way of creating your own sounds. So let me go ahead and just solo out my kick here. Has a nice resonance to it, but really it's lacking a lot of that super low end stuff. Go ahead and grab a new copy of the Unfiltered Audio Basement. So that way it's initialized. And by the way, this also has that randomize function that some of their other plugins have as well. So feel free to play around with this. You can just hit this and it'll randomize the preset, which could be a lot of fun for creating unexpected sounds. So I recommend trying that out. But for us, I'm looking for something specific here. So I'm going to go ahead and dial in the settings manually. So let's go ahead and increase the strength. And then let's play around with a couple of these different modes until we get something that really enhances the low end the best for my kick drum. So already that saturate mode sounds really excellent. Let's try the next one. That one definitely doesn't work as well. You can hear that synthesize one. It's a little bit more of like a specific frequency, so it doesn't work as well on my kick. Let's try this overfold. So this one's really nice because it sounds like a combination of the saturation mode, but it's even more textured and harmonically rich, which in this case, because this is a kick drum, I can add a ton of nice low end to this and really make it sound a lot more punchy and full. So let's go ahead and increase that cutoff all the way up. Obviously, this is way too strong, but what we're doing is letting through all those different frequencies from this low frequency enhancement mode that we have selected. Let's also turn on that soft clip. And then we're going to reduce that. So that way it's a little bit more reasonable. I'm going to go ahead and also increase the soften. Really going to kind of clean up everything. Leave that shelf where it's at and increase the clarity. It's really going to bring in a lot more of that top end frequency stuff and really thickens up that kick. Before it's really kind of more low frequency focused. Then after I increase this, really going to brighten up that kick. That's starting to really improve the sound of that kick drum. Because this was before, and this is after. So in context of that loop, we have a lot more punch and low end. And what we did to achieve that was synthesize some low end using this plugin. So this could be really great on a mix, especially if you're finding like a kick drum is just kind of lacking a little bit of that low end frequency enhancement. And there's some elements that just need a little bit more fullness and harmonics. You can use a plugin like this to enhance the low end. So that's all for this video on the Basement plugin from Unfiltered Audio and how to creatively use that to enhance the low end of sounds inside your production. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for checking it out. I'll see you in the next one.